Thank you for joining us here on the Red and Blue Review, presented by the Kia Store and the Winton Law Group. 1 month into the basketball season conference version, so we're going to start talking about some of the high and low point moments for the season. And so far, Howie, you say the biggest games in the conference involve Notre Dame knocking off Pitt at home and then Villanova beating Syracuse.
Yeah, there's some big games in the Big East already, some big-time wins that nobody really would have expected. That Villanova win at Syracuse is huge. Of course, Seton Hall just shocking Syracuse. You see a trend here, Syracuse, man. So there have been some big wins already. I think there are going to be even more big wins, big upsets going forward.
Darryl says the big win in the SEC so far belongs to Big East foes and Tennessee natives, Tennessee and Vandy.
Now, the reason I picked this game is that Tennessee was, I think, down 17 points at home to Vanderbilt. And this is a team that is good enough to win the East on shaky ground a lot, losing to teams you've never heard of. And had they lost that game at Vandy, they're probably going to lose when they go to Vandy, to Kentucky. They might be out of the race before they even know it, had they not come back and made that miracle win over Vanderbilt.
Howie says the Big East surprise team is the one that lost in Freedom Hall to Kentucky, that being Notre Dame.
Yeah, who would have thunk that Kentucky's biggest win of the year would actually be Notre Dame team? They did not look all that great playing Kentucky. Since then, they've been a very good team. This Notre Dame team is extremely dangerous.
The SEC surprise team, according to Darryl Bird, is Mark Fox's Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, we knew Georgia was going to be decent. Who had any idea they were going to be this good? Mark Fox, everyone who follows basketball knows this is a really good coach. Came in from Nevada, did a lot of wonderful things there. And you knew Trey Tompkins, Travis Leslie, but wow, what a supporting cast. This team is good.
The player who sports the number 1 for Marquette, Howie says, is the Big East surprise player so far 1 month into the season.
Yeah, the easier pick would have been Kemba Walker because he's such a big national story. I think within the Big East, probably the bigger surprise is Darius Johnson-Odom. I don't think anybody knew that guy was going to be able to score 16, 17 points a game and be that versatile. He's extremely hard to guard.
The SEC surprise player surprised himself when he fouled out of that home loss to Florida this week. That's Gerald Robinson, DB.
Robinson, if that name rings a bell with Cat fans, it should. He played for Tennessee State in the NCAA tournament against UK not so long ago, transferred to Georgia. You know Trey Tompkins, you know Travis Leslie, Darius Ware, and here's Gerald Robinson getting 15 points a game for you. He is absolutely the surprise player.
The team that is slumming it in the Big East is DePaul. The pride of Chicago heads to South Florida this week, having lost 7 straight league games. Howie?
DePaul's really bad. Let's get them out of the league. I mean, I understand that you want the Chicago market. DePaul is not giving you the Chicago market, I'll tell you that. If you ever want to have fun, search Boot DePaul on Twitter or Kick DePaul Out on Twitter. You'll see a lot after every game.
Well, down in SEC country, the team that's slumming it belongs to Kentucky native Rick Stansbury, DB.
Mississippi State is an absolute train wreck, and this was the preseason pick for most likely to win the SEC West. And they've had fights. They've had a guy transfer from there, going to walk on to UK next year. They've got a lot of talent. They just haven't figured it out. Now, saying that, don't get ahead of yourself. They'll be there at the end of the year. They'll figure out a way to put it together. They're too good.
Howie says the team that's not as good as perhaps their record and resume indicates is the Louisville Cardinals. In fact, Rick Pitino says this Louisville basketball team is about what most of us thought they'd be. They're going to beat some teams they shouldn't and to lose to some teams that they should not. That stirring final 6 minutes against Marquette kind of gets you thinking that these kids should play like this all the time, but Rick says they can't.
Well, I coached 8 years in the NBA, and I saw it every single night with the people I was coaching against as well as the people I'm coaching for. You think they can do it each night, and that separates the great ones from the ones with potential. And there's often, that word potential is often misused. Boys got such great potential, and sometimes they never reach it. I saw it more in the NBA than any other time, but
Yeah, I tell you, with this team, I was looking down through the standings, which Big East team has a better record than I think that the actual team is, and it's Louisville. I mean, they're 4-2 right now, but they're yet to play all the really tough games. I know they played Villanova and all that kind of thing, but they're gonna take a beating over the next 2 weeks, and that record is not going to look nearly as good as it does now.
Fool's gold in the SEC belongs to the team with gold in their colors, LSU, who has dropped games this season to Rice, Nicholls State, North Texas, Coastal Carolina. That means Coach Trent Johnson has opened the post-game press conference in a lot of games the way he opened the press conference after their loss to Kentucky.
I don't know what you want me to say. That's just a good old-fashioned answer. Obviously, we struggled to score. I thought we had some open looks at times. didn't go down for us, and they ran out on us. I mean, they're very skilled. We knew that coming in. Again, I have nothing to say other than the fact that they just beat us from top to bottom anyway but loose. Questions?
Team is so bad, and yet second place in the SEC West.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on the Red and Blue Review. We'd really appreciate it if you would support these sponsors that make this show possible. Thank you to the folks who help bring you the Red and Blue Review.
The Red and Blue Review is presented by the Winton Law Group and by the Kia Store, the Floor Store, the Bachman Auto Group, Home Run Burgers and Fries, and Sam Swope.
He speaks 5 languages, but when it comes to understanding basketball, he still needs a translator. And Kentucky may need a transplant. That's coming up right now on the Red and Blue Review, presented by the Kia Store and the Winton Law Group.